Hello. Do you remember the games we played when we were in school in the playground? I'm sure some of the games are still around even after all this time. But I wonder if some of the songs and rhymes are still there. My name is Ian Currey, and this is another episode of Thinking Out Loud. Now, if you like watching these videos, don't forget to pass them on to your friends so that they can enjoy them too. Come on, let me tell you what I think. Years ago, one of the things that both Hillary and I were good at was walking on stilts. Lots of fun. I must make a couple of pairs and see if we can still do it. I seem to remember the trick was to pull up on the stilts from low down and not to try and hold on to them at the tops like most people do. Maybe in a future video you'll see us walking around on stilts again. Though this isn't a medical program, so perhaps that isn't such a good idea. How about skipping? I found out my mum was still doing that not too long ago. Now that was more of a girls' thing, but some of us boys were determined not to let the girls have all the fun, so joined in, well, at least sometimes. Unlike stilt walking, I was never any good at skipping. But it's interesting that all these years later, I can still remember some of the words to the skipping songs. Do you remember them? I'm a little bumper car, number 48. I race around the corner and I pull on the brakes. My brakes don't work and I slide down the hill. I stop at the fish shop and bought some jellied eels. Some of them were just silly. And all sorts of songs and rhymes. Some had rude words, and we had to be careful not to sing those songs when we got home. If we did, we'd be in a whole heap of trouble. Now some I can only remember a line or two, but we did skip to some very strange things. This one, for example, sticks and stones may break my bones, but names will never hurt me. Now there was a longer version I seem to remember, but that's how it started at least. Interesting. These days there's a version that goes a little differently. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words can also hurt me. Stones and sticks break only skin, but words are ghosts that haunt me. Now I wonder if you can remember something that was said to you, or a nasty name you were called, perhaps even as a joke, and it really stung. Now how long ago was that? Isn't it interesting how so many years after something like that was said, or a name called, that we can still remember it? Now, as I'm sure you've realized, I enjoy reading the Bible, but sometimes I just don't feel like it. And on those days, there are some really good parts to not read. Some of it is very depressing, at least at first glance. Now, David, who wrote many of the Psalms, has an interesting way of being very transparent with his thoughts and words. One day he seems to be fine, and well, the next day he's all mopey like Eeyore. Let me show you. Now, in one of his Psalms, Psalm 139, he is saying all kinds of things about how remarkable God is. I like this part. You see me when I travel and when I rest at home. You know everything I do. You know what I'm going to say even before I say it, Lord. You go before me and you follow me. You place your hand of blessing on my head. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me, too great for me to understand. David certainly seems to be having a great time there, doesn't he? I suppose it might be because he's got his thoughts in the right place, and he can see how God is with him. But look what happens in the very next psalm. O Lord, rescue me from evil people. Now, do you think David might have his focus on the problems again, rather than on the solution? And I'm sure telling him to snap out of it and stop being depressed would help. Right? No? Perhaps that is exactly when we need to come alongside and listen. Perhaps give a hug. But certainly not try to use our happy self to snap our friends out of it. Let's read on. O Lord, rescue me from evil people. Protect me from those who are violent, those who plot evil in their hearts and stir up trouble all day long. Their tongues sting like a snake. The venom of a viper drips from their lips. Do you see how David is so down in the dumps from one psalm to the next? I wonder what happened. David seems to be well able to take care of himself, by all accounts. He's great with a slingshot, and of course he's famous for taking down Goliath. But what seems to be bothering him here? Maybe it's that last part. Their tongues sting like a snake. The venom of a viper drips from their lips. That certainly gives us a clue, doesn't it? What were people saying about David, I wonder? And why was it affecting him so very much? Now, further into the same psalm, David says, "Don't let liars prosper here in our land." It would seem somehow that untrue things were being said and that they were really getting to David. When I read this, I must say that I record some things that had been said about me a very long time ago. I remembered how I felt and how it affected me. Words do hurt, and for a very long time, don't they? Then I wondered how many times I must have said things that hurt others. Ooh, that's a bad thought too. I've often had to talk to our boys about what other people have said to them in the past. We are all affected by this in one way or another, aren't we? These days we're much more aware of mental health and how what goes on in our minds can deeply affect us. And as we interact with others, let's intentionally say things that are kind and helpful and not unkind and hurtful. And when we hear things that are likely to damage our friends, speak up and encourage. You'll be amazed how a few kind words can really help someone through a difficult time. Remember that our words really do matter and can stay with people for many years to come. Perhaps a song about being a little bumper car with no brakes was a little silly all those years ago. But then pretending that words don't hurt us is a little silly too, isn't it? Until next time, goodbye.